On today's episode of Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM, Lane Kiffin is about to coach against the team whose fan base wants him to come coach them. Yeah, it's awkward. It's real awkward. We'll hear Lane talk about Florida, potential interest from both schools, having to make a decision, whether he has to make a decision, all of that. Plus, Wake Forest head coach Jake Dickert joins the show. He is about to play against North Carolina. The Demon Deacons are bowl eligible. They've got a big game against Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels this week. Plus, we've got mega board threads on Auburn and their coaching search and what is happening at Florida State. Mike Norvell fires back this week as his team prepares to play Virginia Tech. What happens next in Tallahassee? We'll talk about it all on today's Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We are presented by BetMGM. All the lines and totals that we talk about on the show come from BetMGM, and you can very easily join up with BetMGM with a very special offer. It's very easy. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code CFB. That's CFB as in college football. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure to use the bonus code CFB when you sign up, and you can get up to a $1,500 first bet offer. Also, if you're already signed up with BetMGM, there's a lot going on this week, a lot of special little goodies for you. We've got a college football odds boost token for those weeknight games on November 11th, Tuesday, and November 12th, Wednesday. Zero in every snap. Activate the odds boost token on any college football bet, and you receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Also, this weekend, you got a college basketball odds boost token on Friday the 14th and Saturday the 15th. Same deal. Use your boost token. Any college basketball winning bet, bigger payout. Ditto for college football this weekend, November 14th and November 15th. You got the college football odds boost token. You also have the college football parlay boost token. So use the boost token on any college football parlay, and if you win, you get a bigger payout. Have fun with it this weekend. Sign up for BetMGM if you're not already signed up. If you are signed up, obviously plenty of fun stuff ahead of you this weekend. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. It's a Mega Board Wednesday, and I would say the vast majority of the recent threads on the Grove message board at OM Spirit and on the Swamp Talk message board at Gators Online have been about Lane Kiffin. Now, obviously, OM Spirit is an Ole Miss site, so they're talking about Ole Miss's coach. Gators Online, they want Ole Miss's coach. Florida is going to Oxford this weekend, and they're going to play, and Lane Kiffin will be in the same vicinity as the Gators. The Gators will be in the same vicinity as Lane Kiffin. And man, is this awkward, Ari. I picked one thread. I picked Keith Niebuhr's thread on Gators Online. Quotes and context with Lane Kiffin, because I thought the context piece is very important, because you can take quotes and do anything.
You didn't strike me as having to work that hard to find something on this topic, did you?
I did not.
I actually had a thought, and it kind of, I mean, maybe the reason why Ole Miss is in this position is because they're having a good year. But doesn't it kind of stink that Ole Miss is having one of the best seasons in program history, and the fans are more wired about what's going to happen to their coach than enjoying the moment that they crave. Like, and I'm not saying that they're wrong for being concerned about it, because the reason why they have this moment is because of their coach. But it does suck, because it's just like, you should be like, this is like the dessert course of being a football fan. Like, this is what you should be enjoying.
Well, and the part of it is like, this is their second year that they've been in the playoff mix. Their second year they've been in one of the best teams in the SEC in a row. And I think this is what actually makes this so interesting, because the argument we're having over this is, should Lane look at other jobs? Should he stay at Ole Miss? Is the ceiling as high at Ole Miss as is at these other places? And I think the answer is probably yes, it is as high as Florida or as LSU. I think you can probably win a national title at Ole Miss now. And so I think that would frustrate me as an Ole Miss fan, that, 15 years ago, yeah, you would understand. Like, your coach would probably have left for Florida, no question. But I don't think that's I don't think that's the situation now. I think it's different.
Well, the other thing too, and when people listen to the Jake Dickert interview that's on today's show, they'll hear that he has been at times, consumed by moving up the corporate ladder and chasing logos and all those things. And I sometimes wonder, Andy, if even if the ceiling at one place is the same as the other, if there's something special about going to one of the legacy programs that you dreamed of coaching at one day. And I'm not speaking about Lane Kiffin directly, but there are coaches who would be like, well, the ceiling at Mizzou and the ceiling at Ole Miss and Florida may be similar right now, but man, I grew up and Florida was the team and I want to go there. I wonder if there's a pool to traditional powers or teams that have been in the mix or viewed as one of the best programs in the sport in the last 25 years. And maybe I'm just full of shit. Like, I don't know. But if I were a coach, I don't know. I think I might be tempted by that, much as the allure of working at SI would have been coming up at this time, or the allure of working at the New York Times.
What if I had a job offer from SI and On3 right now? Because it's kind of the same thing.
Well,
kind of the same thing.
I don't think that Florida's SI right now, but I think that there are some teams that are more like current SI.
But 15 years ago, when I was I was hired by SI 17 years ago.
I think that the better analogy is staying at the SI when you were there and going to the Athletic at the time.
Well, people thought that was insane.
Yeah.
I remember my wife trying to explain where I was going to people, and they thought I'd lost my mind. So, but that's the thing.
That would kind of be the same thing.
I'm glad you brought it up this way, because Lane Kiffin was asked this week what he considers a good job and what makes a good job now in 2025, because I think it's an important distinction. So here's what Lane Kiffin said about that.
What are the aspects that make up a good job for a college head coach? What's the top of your priority list?
I wasn't ready for that one. I think that's evolved and changed, and there's different things in it. I've said to you guys a couple years ago, I think, and this was before Cap, but I said, I think that it's going to move to, people used to say, okay, when people wanted to hire you or something and interview and what questions do you have? What are your concerns? Okay. People used to say, facilities, how many practice fields, those things. And I said, I don't think, I think that's changed. It's going to change. And it's going to be, how much NIL do you have? When it was all collective, how is your collective? How's it run? How much do you have? Because that's before this, that was the salary cap, meaning that's how much money you're going to have. And some people sometimes think, well, okay, that's not a big deal, but just look at professional sports when it's not the same, like baseball and the payrolls, and over time, who wins and who doesn't win. And somebody may have outlier years once in a while, but, and so now that's a little equaled out, but there's still, how much are you giving to Rev, to your football program? And then how much do you have collective wise? I think it's a big question, but people will talk about it's narrowed, like I heard Coach Saban say, and some stuff has narrowed, as I've referred to, because you can't stockpile, at those, whatever blue bloods you want to call it or refer to it. But there's still things there that you're still going to struggle beat those guys because kids are still recruited and they see size of stadiums and tradition and Heisman's and national championships and then your location, to talent. So I think all those are in there, but it's slid a little time over, I think when that question probably early was that what is your assistant coach's pool? Now is what is your player pool?
So after that answer,
very insightful, by the way. I wanted to say,
message boards popped because you can interpret that however you want. Like if you're a Florida fan, you can take the part where he says, if you got how many Heismans do you have? How big is your stadium? Like, oh, we've got 3 Heisman Trophy winners. The stadium is bigger. But if you're an Ole Miss fan, you can take the last part. What's your player pool? Well, Ole Miss has been the one that said, you know what? You don't need to donate to stadium improvement. You need to donate to player payroll. Florida's got a $500 million stadium renovation still coming. How much do they care about player payroll? Do they care as much as Ole Miss does? Like, those are the questions that and that's what the Ole Miss fans are going to say. So those are the questions you have to ask if you are Lane Kiffin in this specific instance. But like you said, it's very insightful because that's what every coach in this cycle has to ask.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thought because it's like, how much does the Heismans and the tradition actually matter? Like, that's the other piece of this too. Like, does that matter a lot in your mind, or do you think that that's antiquated? When a player goes,
I don't think it matters nearly as much. Yeah. I want to be able to put the best players on the field. I've said this a million times. The best way to improve your stadium is to put better players in it. There's no luxury box or chair back that makes your stadium better than having a great edge rusher or having a really disruptive defensive tackle or an incredible quarterback. That's what makes your stadium great.
I mean, I hate to say this, but most recruits weren't even born yet, or they were in diapers the last time Florida won a national title. So, the thought process too of like, oh, I want to go play for Florida because they win national titles. It's like these kids don't even remember Florida ever being good at that level.
Nope.
So like you get to a certain point where it's like 15 years is not that much time for me and you to look back at, but for an 18-year-old kid, it's their entire life. So, I thought that was an insightful answer. I would really love to know, and the real answer to what moves you, Lane. What makes
right, and that I'm glad you said that. That is what actually matters in this, and we don't know the answer to that
because you can make a case for both, right?
And I think you can easily make the case for both.
I think going back to your SI athletic decision, that's kind of the same deal. Like if he stays,
that was me. But I was at the legacy place going to the, but looking at what was going to happen in the future and what the future was going to look like. And where do I put myself in a position to be better positioned for the future?
He's not at the legacy place, but he is making the same exact decision.
He is because he's trying to decide. And look, here's the other part. I want to be fair to Florida here. We don't know what they are telling job candidates about what their payroll will look like, their NIL structure will look like, how willing are they to push the envelope as far as the cap, the quote unquote cap goes. These are all things that matter quite a bit. And if they are going to do it in a similar way to Ole Miss, then that would make the job more attractive. But Ole Miss has been doing it right almost the whole time. Like since the NIL era started, Ole Miss's administration administration has made the correct decisions each time.
And as you're breaking this down with Lane, I think it's important to acknowledge that, On3 just reported from Chris Lowe, Brett McMurphy, and Pete Nakos that Louisville is working on a contract extension for Jeff Brom.
Mm-hmm.
And like as the weeks, days, whatever games go by where Lane Kiffin has not signed that extension or a report like that happens, you have to start becoming more and more worried, I think. So obviously,
and here's something an agent brought up to me that I hadn't thought about. And this is something that Keith Carter, the athletic director at Ole Miss, really has to think about. This is a very active carousel. There's a lot of due diligence that must be done if you're Keith Carter in case Lane decides to leave. And so you need to know who your pool of candidates is. And the question is, how soon do you need an answer from Lane, yay or nay, before you lose your potential pool of candidates? Because John Summerall is gonna probably take a job. Some of these other guys that would be in the mix are probably going to take jobs, and they're not going to leave jobs after 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to have to figure that out. And so you probably do have to ask Lane at some point, what's your decision here?
Yeah, because I think that we have a general estimation of what the salary is going to be. Is it somewhere between 13 and
I think Florida and Ole Miss can pay exactly the same. I don't think that's
my
really
question, though, is, can Ole Miss offer him something right now that he has to say yes to? Like, what can Ole Miss give him that takes the choice out of his hands? I think a lot of times with job markets, it's like, well, when On3 came and got me, they gave me something that I didn't even have to think about, right? Like, this is the package that I'm looking for, and they gave it to me. What would that package look like for Ole Miss?
I don't think there is one.
Can financially.
I don't think either of these entities can do that. That's why I keep saying it comes down to where you want to work. And the other thing to consider that we haven't talked about yet is NFL jobs. The Giants job just opened. The Giants are building around Jackson Dart. Who did Jackson Dart play for in college?
That'd be wild.
Okay. The Dolphins job may open. And Lane's been an NFL head coach. If he ever aspires to do that again, that also is something that could be on the table this year. So if you're Lane, you have all the leverage. All of the leverage. So you can stretch this out pretty far.
Is there any part of you that thinks that he would give the NFL another shot?
I don't know. And again, a lot of this comes down to, what does Lane Kiffin, the human being, want to do? And the only person who knows that is him. And he's not giving a lot of answers. So he got asked a little more directly at his press conference about Ole Miss and Florida both want you. What do you have to decide?
If Florida wants you and if Ole Miss wants you, it'll necessitate you making a decision. I was just curious, like with the portal opening on January 2nd, do you even have time to think about that, or how important is it to come to whatever decision before the portal opens?
I don't know. I'm not that far down the road. I said it last week, and you guys think I was joking, or the South Carolina, like, everybody wants to talk about other jobs and everything. And I think you're 2-3 weeks away from coaching for your own job. So you better make sure you're doing really well where you are. Because as we've seen out there, I've said 1 win put you out of the top 10. Now 2 wins might put you out of the top 25, and 3 might get you fired. So I ain't figured all that out. I'm trying to keep our winning streak, get to 8-0 at home. Shoot. And like I said, I think last week, talking to Landry is really cool that I may have forgot the stat now, if you're a junior here, and you've gone to all the home games, you've seen 1 loss. If you're a 5th-year senior, you've seen 3 losses, I think, in 5 years. So that's a pretty cool thing. So it'd be awesome to finish this home run for this season with our last home game here.
So that's the right answer for him at this time. He pays people to think about that stuff, though.
Yeah. Not shocking that the most important question is the one that was most evaded, though, right? Like, I liked the introspective, like, here's what makes a job good and all these different things. But when push comes to shove, like, he's not ready to talk about it in any way. And, like, I understand it. I understand it any more than we would want to have public conversations about our career.
It'd be impossible. I can't even imagine having this play out publicly, like having one of my job deliberations play out publicly. Can't imagine.
Not to mention that you're still in the middle of having to finish your most important project at your current job. They're not out of the woods yet. I think they're out of the woods in the playoff race. I think they're going to get in no matter what. And when I say no matter what,
they can't lose to Florida losing to Florida this week would be bad.
It would not eliminate them.
It would not, but it would be bad. Don't do that. And remember, Florida knocked them out of the playoff last year. An inferior Florida team knocked them out of the playoff last year. So they don't lose to Florida. That's especially this version that just got whipped by Kentucky. Don't lose to them. But
the things that I've heard about Lane, though, and Chris Lowe knows him. You know him pretty good. Like, being the head coach of the Dolphins really does strike me as something that he would enjoy. I don't know why, but that would be a pretty good life.
See, I don't know. I'd be curious to ask him about, like, give him truth from him. Ask about did the Raiders experience sour you on the NFL in general, or are you a different coach now? And would you consider that again? Because
he was like 14 when he was coaching at the Raiders.
He was at 34 when he coached the Raiders. Like, I would have hired me to run a Wendy's at 34.
Yeah,
like, he was an NFL head coach.
It's a wild career arc, but I think that we all would agree that he's a much different coach in person than he was during those times too.
Yeah. Speaking of different coaches and different people, Jake Dickert from Wake Forest has come a long way, and in a pretty short time. He's a young coach. He's 42, but he's had a very diverse and varied career. He's been in the Dakotas. He's been at Washington State. Now he's at Wake Forest. He grew up in Wisconsin. He's been all over the place. And now he's got the Demon Deacons in a really good spot. They're playing North Carolina this week. This is going to be, as the folks at Inside Carolina said on their message board, they are predicting a rock fight here. These defenses are both very good and getting better by the week, it seems. The offenses have struggled quite a bit. So you're going to see a probably low-scoring game. BetMGM has the total I'm looking at. Is that 38.5?
It is.
Take the under. This may be, remember the Wake Forest Virginia Tech game near the end of the Frank Beamer era? Regulation ended 0-0 with Beamer celebrating. Yeah.
Overtime.
We may see a little of that.
Overtime is the enemy of the under, though.
This is true, but not in the new overtime, and not this under.
Imagine like losing because they went back and forth with 2-point conversions for 5 rounds.
Listen, Jake Dickert says he wants a great atmosphere. If you want to be part of that great atmosphere in Winston-Salem this week, go to Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Look up Wake Forest football. You will see the menu of all the tickets that are available. You'll see exactly where you'd sit. You can also do that if you want to go to, say, I don't know, the Notre Dame Pitt game this weekend. There's some good seats available for that game. You can get some pretty good ones in the high $100 range. And again, you'd see exactly where you'd be sitting at Acrisure Stadium. The price you see is the price you pay. You want to go see Texas and Georgia in Athens? Yeah, you know you do. They got tickets for that on Gametime. They get tickets for Oklahoma, Alabama, and Tuscaloosa on Gametime. Tickets for everything. And as the game gets closer, sometimes the prices drop. You never know. So download the Gametime app, find your game, redeem the code STAPLES at checkout, and get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That code is STAPLES at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Gametime, swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, let us talk to Jake Dickert, who is in a very interesting situation. He's playing against Bill Belichick this week. His team just beat Virginia, handed Virginia their second ACC loss, their first ACC loss, their second loss to an ACC team because the NC State game was a non-conference game. Wake Forest already bowl eligible, but they're setting that aside. New challenge, rivalry game. It's against, guy with 6 Super Bowls. No big deal. Here's Jake Dickert. We are honored to be joined by Jake Dickert, the first-year coach in Wake Forest history to lead the Demon Deacons to bowl eligibility. And I know you guys were celebrating that after you beat Virginia the other day, Coach, and very quickly said, we got to stop thinking about that because now the time turns to North Carolina. How do you, when you're having a season like this, get everybody refocused?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you learn from failure. We had the big win a couple weeks ago against SMU, turn around and really play our worst football game of the season. So I think we learned from that moment, and obviously big part for our program, big part for our university. No one gave us a shot, guys, to get this football team in a position to go to a bowl game. We've done it through 9 games, and there's a lot of opportunity left. 2 rivalry games, a senior night at home. So our guys just need to refocus on what's important, and that's being our best for this Big Four football game this Saturday.
Coach, when you take over a program and you take inventory on, what you have, where you need to go, what needs to be accomplished, how much can you actually visualize what a ceiling for a team can be, and how quickly do you come to that realization?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had that question today in the press conference. And if you ever hear the old, caterpillar story, or not caterpillar, but grasshopper story, where, you put them in a jar, with a ceiling on it, eventually they learn where their height is, and they don't stop jumping once you take the top off the jar. I don't like putting ceiling on players. I don't like putting ceiling on teams. And we just keep believing. We didn't get here till December 20th, right? So there was no secret that we were behind the 8 ball. We had to evaluate our personnel and retain, every best player that we possibly could. And then we just went right into we can't have any success this season if we don't win the line of scrimmage. So I think in the first portal period, we signed over 10 offensive and defensive linemen. That's been the staple of our football team. And then we kind of, supplemented some of that talent in the second portal. So, I think we've done a really good job of evaluating, but also, not sweeping under the rug the guys that were here and saying, hey, those aren't our guys. Heck yeah, they're our guys. And they stayed here with a passion and a purpose. And this purpose was to get to a bowl game just like we are right now.
So you talk about nameless, faceless opponent, and that's something that you said was a failure, following SMU going into Florida State. In this situation, with the players, and North Carolina's almost all new. It's a little bit different, but in your coaching matchup, that's probably the hardest thing, to make this a nameless, faceless opponent. Because I want to ask, when you were a senior in high school, watching Bill Belichick beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, if I had tapped you on the shoulder and said, Jake, you're going to coach against that guy someday, what would you have said?
Well, I would have said, is he coaching like the local high school or something? Because that's what I thought I was going to be doing at that point in my life. Cool opportunity. We've gotten a lot of text messages about that kind of same thing. I think at the end of the day, thank God it's not me versus Coach Belichick one-on-one. That's two bad athletes going at it, right? So good thing it's our players going, and you keep the main thing, and it's been his messaging kind of throughout his whole career. But really cool. I'm not going to, say it's not, to say that you're standing next to, one of the best, if not the best coaches in our game. Definitely one of the best defensive minds, right? So I think it's a great opportunity for us. But, once again, we're not the ones playing, thank God. I was a D3 wide receiver. I look like a fullback now. So it's one of those guys where we're just excited to get out there.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting from two aspects. One is you're going against them and are going to be, across the sideline from him for an entire game, but you're also taking over a program in the same conference in the same state at the same time. Do you ever have a thought process of if this is a race to, ACC supremacy, then I'm going to have to get through Bill Belichick's build in my own state too, right? When you start, it's not just about the game, it's about the build, I think.
Yeah. Prize racehorses, you know what they do, guys? They have blinders on. Okay. So they don't miss a step, right? So they're not looking to the horse to the left and the right, and they're just sprinting. Okay. When we got here, we were just sprinting. I wasn't even thinking about what North Carolina was doing. Still don't. They have different resources. They have some other things. We have what we have to a high degree, and we're excited about maximizing everything that we have. So I think that's where people get in trouble. I mean, you got to run your own race. You got to understand what's in your lane, but you got to understand this was always possible in our minds, and we knew it was going to be hard. We knew it was going to be difficult, but we found the right people. Okay? I'm on a search for great people. Okay, that have a high passion and degree for what it takes to do a really hard game. Okay, and I think that's what Wake Forest represents. That's why we're here. That's what we found, and that's how we're going to create success for us. And I think that's the only focus that we need to have.
Do you know how much time I spend thinking about other college football podcasts and how many viewers they get?
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it.
Blinders.
Racehorses, you guys are prize racehorses, and trust me, on 3, you guys are doing great. So just keep moving forward. Yeah.
Ari and a prize racehorse have never been compared before, so this is a first on the show.
In any regard, yeah.
I was watching your press conference this week, Jake, and it was kind of one of those only in 2025 moments, because obviously you're a new staff, they're a new staff, lots of roster turnover, but there is so much familiarity here because you guys had to play against Steve Belichick last year when you were at Washington State. He was at Washington. You guys played against Andrew Simpson, their linebacker, when he was at Boise State. Your OC, Rob Izell, coached their quarterback, Gio Lopez, at South Alabama. It's weird how everything overlaps now.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's a new thing where we all have to get used to playing ex-players. I think that's at first in my career about 3 years ago, that was really odd. But now it's part of what we do. And I think familiarity is good in this game, but obviously even Steve Belichick has evolved their defense to their new personnel. So there's some similarities. There's some strengths and weaknesses. You ask Coach Ezell about Gio's, like, hey, what can he do? How does he read coverage? What is he like? Where does he roll into? What's his go-to? But at the end of the day, it's new teams, new structure, and you just got to go out there and find a way to win a game.
I was looking at your coaching history, and every single place you've coached and where you were born and where you went to college has been freezing cold. I've never been to Wake Forest, actually. Like, is this the nicest area in terms of like weather and scenery that you've been? Oh, I guess the Dakotas have some pretty beautiful places, right? In Wyoming, absolutely. But like, is this the mildest climate?
Guys, I don't know if you understand. Like, when I lived in Fargo, North Dakota, we had 3 weeks where it didn't get above 0 degrees wind chill. Okay, I'm talking 3 weeks. Like, you don't even understand what that feels like. We had a practice today, and it was 35 degrees to start. It's going to be 60 today. And our guys from the South acted like that was cold. It's all perspective, right? I mean, we're going to have a November 15th game. It's going to be 70 degrees on Saturday. I've never heard of it. Never dreamt of it. Like, it's actually happening in real life. So I'll take the heat and humidity any day over a negative blizzard in Wyoming that shuts the highway down for 3 days. So
I was going to say, how does the recruiting process change for you when you're talking to people? I mean, I imagine not getting the what do I do if my engine block freezes question is nice to not get anymore.
Guys, when I was a young GA and I went up to Fargo, North Dakota, I got to the first apartment. I pulled into my parking spot, and there was a plug. And I was like, what is this for? Right. And you realize you need an engine block heater so your oil doesn't freeze. Right. So it's a whole other world that people don't even understand, like, what that's even about. And of course, we got an apartment with 1 underground parking spot. That's where my wife was. Right. So at 5 a.m., I'm out there freezing, letting my thing warm up every morning. So it's definitely a journey. But yeah, recruiting here has been great.
Yeah.
Big advantage.
I think human beings were really late on the automatic start invention. I think we could have maybe done that a few decades earlier. Coach, I know I don't know how much you listen to the show, but I'm the guy who takes it off the rails. Have you seen the show Fargo?
I have, actually. When I worked there, like, one of my aunts and one of those Secret Santa, like, give a gift thing, like, gave me the movie Fargo, and it's really depressing. And Fargo's a great community, great city.
Yeah.
They don't all talk like that, but they definitely have the accents.
I just didn't know how accurate the movie and the show is. Is that how life is there?
No, it is it is a great city, passionate fan base. Go in the summer so you can enjoy it. Otherwise, it is just a whiteout with wind. That the wind is just incredible. It can ruin your whole day.
So good to know they only use wood chippers for wood there. That's good to know.
Yes, exactly.
It's based on a true story. I don't know if you know that.
So, Jake, you said something about this team after you guys beat Virginia, and I thought it was really interesting. You said, this is the way we win now.
Yeah.
And we got to stop apologizing for that. And that's who we are. And for those who don't know, you won 16-9. Like, you beat SMU 15-13 on a walk-off field goal. Is it nice knowing what the personality of your team is, knowing how your team wins?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more so realizing the grit our team has earned and shows, in the daily response. And what I love about it is team wins. We did go at the end of the Virginia game on a 16-play, 48-yard drive. I don't even know how the math goes on that, and took out 9 minutes on the clock. Okay, so as the defense is sitting there, and we celebrate the heck out of those things. Okay, is it to where we want to be? No. Is that the way we always want to win? No. But it's great to be capable, and we'll never apologize for winning. Okay, when we beat Kennesaw to open the season 10-9, everyone's panicking. I said, we will not apologize for winning. All we'll do is keep learning, growing, and getting better. Okay, and I think every week besides one this season, our team has done just that. So we got to take those learns, we got to apply them to this week, and we got to be able to handle success like we talked about. So we're in too crazy of a world to ever worry about after you win.
Coach,
one thing that you said about your team after that game too that I loved is, if you give your defense an inch to defend, they will defend it with their life. And that's been you guys all season. And what is that like as a head coach, knowing that it's 4th and inches and you've you're probably going to stop these guys.
Well, I would say this. It really stems from this. I'm a defensive guy, right? So I always have an eye on that. But I've been around these guys for now 8 months, and this is the most unselfish defense I've ever been around. And it's just doing your job. It's trusting that the man next to you is gonna do his. And we're rotating 8 guys up front. We're rotating 4 linebackers. We're rotating 3 corners. And no one's coming into my office saying, Coach, my agent says I need to play more. Right? There's power in that, guys, and it's rare. And that's why I bring it up. And we point it out, we show it. These guys have incredible energy every day to the process and the preparation of what it takes to be great. And even last week, they hit a 60-yard run down the sideline. Our corner who messed up, didn't quit on the play, runs it down at the 4-yard line, and we hold them to a field goal. That's how you win tough physical football games in the ACC.
Coach, I've been watching your games, and it looks like Robbie Ashford is, playing maybe the best football of his career. And I think when you have players who have been to, his 4th stop, people lose track or give up on a player. What has it been about his personal makeup and, the ups and downs of his career maybe that have him playing at a higher level at the moment, in the moment?
Well, I would say this, Robbie's story's out there. I mean, everyone sees 4 schools and assume he's the problem, right? There's been a bunch of different situations. Things have worked out. Things haven't worked out. We've helped work with him to own that so he can be the best version of himself. And I would say this, if Robbie was here, every day isn't easy, but I'm proud of the kid. He's got a banged up knee. He's got a banged up hand. He's playing extremely physical, and he's doing what he's capable of doing because we believe in him. And, I told him from day one that the best player is going to go out there and lead the team. And I think he's taken that, with stride. I think he's always waited for his opportunity. It's tough, especially in our society. As soon as quarterbacks don't play, you got to move. You got to find something else. There's something greener out there. So just proud of the kid for keep gutting it out and keep playing. And it hasn't always been easy, even this season. So the future's bright for him. I'm really happy, the way he has really responded throughout the course of the season. And then we just been really honest with him. And, when you do that with players, they know what we expect and they can respond to it.
You mentioned earlier about how the guys that stayed from Coach Clawson's regime, they're still your guys.
Yeah.
When did you realize how well the guys who stayed versus the guys who came, that they were going to work well together, that they were going to be a cohesive team?
We had this in 2017 when I went to Wyoming. We walked into a defense that everyone came back, had tons of experience, and the year before they were awful, right? So they came in like sponges. And the very first meeting we had here, I don't care if you came with us from Washington State, you were a Wake Forest holdover, you were a transfer. The term "we used to do it this way" cannot exist in our environment. Like, whether you came with us or not, whether you were here or not, we got to recreate the culture and the vision of a new program, and everyone has to buy into that. Okay, unfortunately, in our society today, everyone wants to dip a toe in the water and then wait for the result before they commit. Okay, we demanded that these guys commit right now to a vision that's going to be awesome, and we're going to create it and navigate the challenges together. And I think that's what inspired our football team, right? Nick Anderson, he's unbelievable. Like, all conference safety, could have played anywhere in the country. First call I made to him, he's like, "Coach, who do you want me to call? I'm all in. Let's go get this thing." And he's just been a catalyst for our success, and there's a lot of stories like that. I just think we got a real special connection in this football team, but it takes a lot of sacrifice to get there, because I support individuals, but you got to work within a team confine, and I think that's what our team is doing really well.
The most terrifying nightmare that I've ever had in my entire life was waking up in the middle of the night and the Demon Deacon was in the corner of my bedroom. That's a terrifying mascot.
We got some AI versions of some things we use with like waking the demons and some of the things that we do that these guys can be a little creepy. I mean, you got to be nasty, you got to be tough.
Yeah,
right? The whole nature of the Demon Deacon is great. So
he's not the Angel Deacon. There's a reason for it.
It's just a scary mascot I would not want to be alone in a dark room with.
Every once in a while, I see the little kids kind of, go to high five them, and they're kind of exactly right.
I got 2 things before we let you go, Coach. First one, I just want to, equal time. Are you going to take the New York Giants job?
I'm just focused on North Carolina.
The good answer. Good. I just want to make sure both coaches in the game got asked that question. The other one, and I think we may have asked you this when we had you on earlier, but I'm not sure. Did we ask you the rules for life question? Because sometimes I forget.
No,
No, we didn't. Okay,
we did,
great.
yeah.
What is your rule for life? What is your rule that you live by?
You gotta give me some prep work on that.
I should have. That's my fault. I forgot to ask you when you were on before, and I forgot to prep you for it this time.
I think the biggest thing is, like, in my life, I've learned so much in the last 4 years being a head coach, guys. You know, I just think you got to be lifelong learners. You know, just the moment you think you got it figured out, that's when your ass gets knocked down. And my journey's been unique. It's been different. I've coached for 17 years. I've had 11 different jobs. I've moved my family all over the country. And fit is really important to me. I've learned that through my journey. I was chasing logos and money and other things just like everybody else. And you just got to be around really good people. So the one thing I'll never do in this game is compromise myself, my core values, my family. I never want to be called a fraud. I want to live the way that I'm capable of living and do things the way I think holds up to a high standard. And that's not easy in today's world sometimes. So I know I went on a rambling different deal there, but those are some principles that I think kind of guide, you know, my decision-making and my action.
Love it. Love that you're focused on this game and not on the New York Giants job. You're on to North Carolina. And Jake Dickert, thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you guys for having me on. You guys do an amazing job. Really appreciate it. And go Deeks.
Appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Ari, that was spectacular. Did you know no wood chippers being used for any purposes other than chipping wood in Fargo? That's good news.
Yeah, and I think that people need to know that I'm aware that Fargo actually isn't based on a true story, but it does tell you that it is at the beginning of the movie and the show.
The Coen brothers do that too.
But yeah, I'm happy that's not true. That's a wild scene. I've always wanted to go there.
Well, I want to see a game in the Fargo Dome. I think that'd be so much fun. I want to see a game in the Kibbe Dome at Idaho. I love small domes.
I think we should do like an entire year. I don't know if our bosses would ever sign off on this. It's like
small dome tour,
or just like, you know, places that are in like atypical settings. You know.
Oh yeah, I like it.
And we have a loyal listener named Ben who reached out to me this week and asked if we would like to come to a BYU game because he heard on the show that that's a bucket list game for me. And it's like, if you have mountains or snow, or you're in an area that's hard to, you know, like Wyoming, Idaho, BYU,
BYU's not hard to get to, by the way. Salt Lake Airport, 45 minutes away.
I know, but there's
easy travel.
Is there an airport in Provo? I don't know.
You can fly into the very large airport 45 minutes away.
Yeah, it's only 45 minutes away. I thought it was an hour or something, or an hour and a half or something. It's closer.
If there's no traffic,
I think you're focusing on the wrong thing here, though. It's just like scenic areas that like aren't, you know, or a place that you wouldn't end up going for other reason outside of football. Like, why would I ever be in Provo? Why would a random person ever go to Provo? Like, to see football? Like, I don't know. You might end up being in Atlanta for 90 different reasons. It doesn't make their stadium iconic. I want to go to a place where that is the destination.
I tell you, the one I want to see is the Brawl of the Wild.
Yeah.
Montana versus Montana State. We could do it in Bozeman. We can do it in Missoula. Either one.
And I don't know if I'm sick
good
for this, but like, I actually have no interest in going to these places in the summer. I want to go when they're like snowy and they are like, that's like the spirit of the game. Well,
if we do an at Montana State Brawl of the Wild, I mean, we have to dress as Yellowstone characters.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, we have to both dress as Rip, I think.
Yeah, you would probably be better at that than me. I don't have those. You have the Brunt work boots. I don't.
I can't grow a beard though. That's my problem.
Can you what happens if you grow a beard? You can't get it going?
It just won't go. It won't fill in.
Yeah. Sucks to suck.
Puberty has not finished, I guess.
Yeah. My friend told me nobody gets everything, Andy. Just remember that.
That's exactly. But you know what you can get everything in? You can start your collection at PaniniAmerica.net. Panini, the makers of the most collectible sports cards on the planet. Earlier in the week, Ari was showing some beautiful cards that he's just added to his collection. I'm gonna rip a pack of Donruss football right now. This is 2025 Donruss football. We have a shot. We might be able to get an auto, might be able to get a patch card here. So we're gonna see what we got.
We're looking for the rather elusive but highly lucrative and valuable downtown insert.
Yes. All right. We got Geno Stone, Alvin Kamara, Oluwafemi Oladeju, Michael Penix Jr., one of my favorite players, Derwin James.
Dog.
Got an all-time Charles Woodson. Got an Abdul Carter. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Checklist here. Oh, I'm sorry. The champ is here. What is a checklist here? The champ is here, Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
He is a champ. Tyjae Spears, Tulane great. And the guy with the best accent in all of football, Carolina Panthers receiver, former South Carolina Gamecock, Xavier Legette. He will give you a recipe to cook up some squirrel. What you got there, Ari?
There is a 2025 Panini Impeccable Dan Marino with a gold bar in it. I mean, a silver bar in it.
Woo.
Andy's ripping packs. I'm showing you the nukes that I have on my desk. That's a ounce of silver, which I think is worth $60 by itself if you rip that silver out. Precious metals we've talked a lot about on the show. But Dan Marino, NFL legend, that card's a pretty big card. So I've got to go through some of the ones that I've hit recently. Remember Mason Taylor came on our show? Here's a
Absolutely
impeccable 25 Mason Taylor draft patch with the 25 on there.
Nice.
And then Matthew Golden was also on our show. And here's a patch out of Origins this year. So I can keep going, but, we don't want this. Oh, one last one just to marry yours with mine. Here's Xavier Legette, Contenders Optic rookie card.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
All right. PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection today. One guy who may have quite a bit of money to start his collection, Mike Norvell. So let's go to the War Chant Tribal Council message board. North Vanol has a thread called "Any support to retain Mike Norvell has disappeared." And I think if you watch the Clemson game, that is probably a very understandable sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I, talking to people at Florida State, reading, what the folks write on the message board at War Chant, it does seem like any support he had has completely eroded. It's not just that last year was awful. It's that they do not seem to really be getting any better. And that is really frustrating Florida State fans.
Yeah. And not really getting much better from last year is really bad. It's one thing if you're 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, 8-4, and you're not getting any better, but to go from absolutely awful to just awful, I guess is a marginal improvement because you can't take away what happened against Alabama, but the rest of the years looked a lot like last year. Now, last year they were completely
North VA Knoll brings it up. The way they start this thread is a good point. It says a few days ago, the boosters sent out their annual email to solicit ticket renewals for 2026. I was not amused at the timing.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. Because you are frustrated. Now, when this renewal came out, this was before the Clemson loss. It was coming off the Wake Forest win. And it's probably, I'm assuming the Seminole boosters were probably like, okay, now's the time. Let's get this thing out here. But that's the problem. When even after a win, this sort of thing, and this sort of thing is a season ticket renewal, which is something you have to send. When it's landing and insulting people, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah, because people can't even think about the idea of spending more money to go watch that product. And you've always said this, and it's true. If you lose people's desire to go to games or to purchase tickets, then what do you have?
Yeah. Now, I will say, we talked about Mike Norvell's sideline demeanor in the Clemson game and what we've seen from him this year. And it has looked, I don't even know how to describe it. It seems like someone who kind of knows the end is near. But interestingly enough, this week, Mike Norvell came out with some fire. And it reminded me a lot of early FSU Mike Norvell before the build, before they ended up winning the ACC title in 2023, as they were working their way toward that. And this is the first I've seen this version of Mike Norvell in a while. And so we're going to play the clip. I want you to watch this, Ari, and tell me, does it feel different? Does it matter? But here's Mike Norvell this week.
And like I'm fully aware the outside narrative around our team is not good. Around me is probably not good. That's fine. That will not affect, right, the job that I'm going to show up and do. Right? The job I'm going to show up and do is I'm going to pour everything I have into this team with a championship expectation, right, for us to go grow and be better. And why I can say that? Because I've actually won a championship. I've done that. And we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it here. Right? And people, that might piss people off. So be it. Right? They'll be celebrating when we're hoisting a trophy, and it will be the belief and that I see from our players, the belief that I see from our coaches, the talent that I know that our players have, and the guys that are coming to be a part of this. Man, I've got elite level confidence for what's ahead of us. And I know not everybody wants to hear that. I don't care. Like I know what it's going to be, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that I have. Also understand that it has not been good enough, right? And the results, they matter, right? But we're going to take that step, and we're going to get the job done.
Doesn't move me at all.
That was what I was wondering, because I can tell you there's a speech just like that he does. I want to say it was 2022, or it might have been 2021. I think it was after they lost. It might have been after they lost to Jacksonville State, and it was not immediately after the game, but the week, the weekly press conference after that. And he said it. The phrasing was very similar, and the fire was similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I was wondering, because that one, I remember rewatching that when they were in the midst of winning the ACC title in 2023. I'm like, man, he laid it all out there. That's exactly what happened. But hearing it now,
well, I just don't think he's going to have the opportunity to make good on that. So,
well, and that's the thing. I think he's got to win all 3 games to even have a chance. All 3 remaining games to even have a chance of that.
Yeah. And by the way, if that spread is real, holy crap. BetMGM has them 13.5-point favorites against Virginia Tech. That seems like a pretty big spread for a team.
See, the thing is they did beat Wake Forest 42-7 at home. Like
I know.
That was kind of an anomalous result, but they do seem to be better in Tallahassee than they are away from Tallahassee.
Well, I mean, that's the difference between this year and last year. Last year's team just flatlined and never came back to life. This year's team has had some really big lows, but has had the highest of highs too. So, I don't know, but I do understand. And the thing that like really should have stood out to you from the rant that you just played is we're going to win championships. We've done it before. Just kind of like reminding people that like, hey, it hasn't been a crap sandwich.
I won the ACC 2 years ago. That's what he's saying. But the thing is, I won the ACC 2 years ago. I think is completely erased by the 2-10 season you had last year.
Yeah.
Like you don't really get to claim it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot let it get that bad at a place like Florida State. I mean, if you actually go around and look at Florida, Miami, LSU, A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, places that have been traditionally great, that have had some rough spells. And maybe Oklahoma's a bad example because they really haven't.
They don't really have those.
But I'm just saying, like, when you think about legacy programs, down periods, you don't see a lot of 2-10. You know what I mean? Like, their down periods are 6-6, 8-4. Like, to allow it to erode that much, and maybe it's easier to, happen in this day and age because you are losing players in a transient situation much more rapidly than you ever have before. But Florida State by itself, just the helmet, the logo, the name, should always put you in a position, regardless of who the coach is, to at least get good enough players, or enough good players to never go 2-10. Right? Like 2-10 is just a low that I can't even fathom at a place like that. So, yeah. I mean, and then if you rebound it, what are they going to win? 4 games this year? 5 games?
Well, they've won 4 games. So if they could go to a bowl if they win 2 of the last 3. So they play Virginia Tech at home, then it's at NC State and at Florida. They are 0-4 0-3 on the road so far. NC State is playing well. NC State just boat raced Georgia Tech.
I mean, if they win 2 or 3 and one of them's Florida, is he back?
Maybe. I think he probably has to win them all, though. Like, you read that message board thread. That's one of many that say the same thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't even have to read it. I know what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. The Florida State fans are fed up. They're done. They've given their last ounce of support for this. And I think
I don't blame them.
I think Mike Norvell knows that. I think that's what that speech was about.
Yeah. But I also think, too, that they are – sometimes I think fans can get a little carried away. And sometimes I think fans aren't rational. I don't think that Florida State fans are being irrational.
I don't think this is being irrational either. I think this is incredible frustration for a situation that feels hopeless. And they would like to feel some hope again. And that hope is going to be expensive. So we'll see what happens. Another fan base that also wants to feel some hope again, but they're going to get a change, is Auburn. This mega board thread coming from auburnsports.com. Our Pete Nakos wrote a story, Auburn coaching search intel, latest on the search for Hugh Freeze's replacement. And of course, mentions the usual suspect names, Tulane's John Sumrall, obviously, is the one that we've connected to Auburn the entire time. The names that Pete has heard connected to the Auburn job, interim coach DJ Durkin could get a chance. USF's Alex Golish, former Penn State head coach James Franklin, Georgia Tech's Brent Key, Memphis's Ryan Silverfield, and Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz. Now, Ari, also Justin Hokanson, who writes for Auburn Sports, had a really good story about the process Auburn is going through and how, while their job opened up later than some of these other ones, they have moved very quickly. And it seems like John Cohen, their AD, has talked to some candidates already, and they feel like they have a pretty good handle on the pool.
Yeah. Is this a good time to go on my James Franklin should go there rant?
Do it.
I think that every single time a place like Auburn or any place in the SEC or Big Ten for that matter hires a coach, you do so with the hope that that person could not win you only a conference championship and make a deep playoff run, right? Like, that's the ultimate dream. And I think that Auburn is a program that, for as long as I can remember, and you're a better SEC historian than me, has been very, very low and very, very high. They are the most roller coaster experience for fans of any team. And I wonder, if you make this hire, does the goal have to be go get the person that you think is the highest likelihood of winning you a national championship? Or do you go get the person who puts an end to the roller coaster, provides stability, might win a national championship, but if he doesn't, will provide you the groundwork for your following hire to be the right person? I always wonder if whenever you make a hire, if it has to be one hire away. Are you always one hire away?
See, I don't think it's like that anymore. Like, the example I always use, because I covered it as a beat writer, is Ron Zook going into Urban Meyer at Florida. Ron Zook laid the foundation for Urban Meyer. That's fine going from 2004 to 2005. That doesn't work anymore in 2025 going into 2026, because the roster might not be there anymore. They may just all leave.
Yeah. I wonder how much, and I guess foundationally, how much of it is roster? Would you say it's 75%?
The roster, if you can keep the Auburn roster together, I think you feel like that's a pretty good place to start, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so for sure. I think part of the reason why Hugh Freeze is not there is because the roster was better than the output. Some people get fired because their team stinks, and the reason why their team stinks is because they did a bad job of accumulating talent. I don't think that's what Hugh Freeze did wrong. That said, James Franklin might get an eye roll from Auburn fans because he got fired at Penn State for never getting over the hump and winning a national title.
But would you take 10 to 13 wins a year at Auburn? And the answer is yes.
If you're Auburn, you would want to be on that roller coaster and playing in the games that Penn State has played in every year. And then who knows? Maybe James Franklin, I just fundamentally push back at the notion that a person who has had a hard time winning big games can never win them ever. I don't know. if I view it that
Because
way.
we are of the theory that if you knock on the door enough times, eventually you get through.
I think Auburn should be hiring somebody who knocked a lot. Like he knocked a lot and, has been a coach in that conference before. And I think stability and year-over-year success is a pretty important aspect of being a happy fan. And like Auburn hasn't had that. So instead of thinking who's the coach that gives us the highest likelihood of winning a national title, I think I would go for the coach that gives me the most likelihood of winning 11 games every year and playing Alabama in meaningful atmospheres over and over and over again until you finally break through. Like that's how I view it. And also James Franklin, like John Summerall seems to be the layup here, right? And I don't have a single bad thing to say about John Summerall. But has John Summerall done anything in his that makes you feel like he has a higher likelihood of winning a national title than James Franklin?
I mean, he did essentially some of the stuff that Franklin did early in his career.
Right. But like there's no national championship on his resume.
No, he won the Sun Belt twice at Troy. In both years he was there. He took Tulane to the American Championship game last year. They didn't win it. He may take Tulane to the American Championship game again this year. He might make the playoff this year.
5 years of going to your conference championship game or winning it in 5 years of being a head coach, which is
it'd be 4 and 4.
4 and 4.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
That sounds like a Wendy's deal.
It does. Hey, if you want to come back, Wendy's.
You missed the spicy nugs, dude. I'll tell you. Like that's you just got a free ad there. I will smash those spicy nugs. Those were actually like really good.
They were very good. Very good. Well, we usually tell you afterward if we didn't like a product that we had a sponsor for, but we loved that one.
I think Wendy's has a
Those are awesome.
Real case for being the best fast food nugget out there, depending on what you prefer. But anyway, I think James Franklin's an attractive candidate.
I am with you on that. I think if Florida State makes a move, I think he should be considered there. I think Auburn should be considering him. I'm pretty sure Virginia Tech is considering him and would love an answer if he'd like to come. I think he's going to have a job next year. I just don't know where he's going to be.
And I hope for him that he's at a place that actually gives him an opportunity to play in those games that Penn State played. I think he's worthy of a top 15 job in America still.
I think you're right. And I am fascinated to see where he ends up because this cycle is there's so much going on. There's so many jobs open. And like we kind of touched on it, we'll touch on it more as the weeks go by, but you're starting to see the NFL cycle start spinning. There actually aren't a ton of obvious coordinators in the NFL that are just guaranteed to get head coaching jobs. So you may see NFL teams dipping into college football too. So this is going to get pretty wild here in the next.
And it might be nice for James Franklin to not live in a constant world where he's being directly compared to one of the most bulletproof and sustained successful programs in the country every year.
What?
I was just saying, like being compared.
So you don't want to go to Auburn, is what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe not Auburn.
I was like, wait, are we talking about Auburn or Penn State?
No. Auburn would be a bad fit if that's the case. But if he gets one of the other 6 jobs that are open, he doesn't have to get compared to the best program in college football every day of his life.
Yeah, that is the issue when you are up against Ohio State or up against Alabama as an annual rival. So yes, that is the
Ohio
problem.
State has been more. It probably feels like will be more consistent for the 10 years out now too.
I don't know. I think Kalen DeBoer's doing all right. So he may have Alabama in the same place. Who knows? But I'm with you. I understand exactly what you're saying there. And I do think, given the number of jobs, we will see James Franklin somewhere. I just don't know where yet. And that is going to make the next month.
Yeah. I'm now
very fun
because I was thinking about writing a column and I'm like, maybe that's the case why he's not a good fit for their job.
Uh-oh. You talked yourself out of it already?
No, I'm just saying, like, if he failed once because he couldn't get over the hump by playing an immovable object as a rival, that would be the same exact situation, except the rivalry would be even more heated in Auburn because Penn State and Ohio State isn't the Ohio State Michigan.
Right. It's not the Ohio State Michigan.
I don't know. We're talking stuff through. It's a podcast, man.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad I helped you workshop it. I appreciate that.
Hold on. Here, you hear that? That's the delete button.
So listen, we love when you help us workshop this show. Send us your questions for Dear Andy and Ari. Andy Staples on 3 at gmail.com, Ari.Wasserman@on3.com. We've already got some great questions. There's one. Well, actually, there's two. There's one. There's one that just said the subject line was like, "Damn it, Ari." That one's getting read.
Yeah.
There's another one that really ties into this coaching carousel from our friend Arthur, who emails quite a bit. That's going to get read, I can tell you right now. But if you would like to grab one of the other spots on the show, Andy Staples on 3 at gmail.com or Ari.Wasserman@on3.
And I wanted to preview what it's kind of like, because I have met people through this job that have direct lines for questions and thoughts. And I wanted to read a text before we get out of here that I got from somebody involved in the college football playoff. Okay. He listens to our show. He said he's a very big fan of the show, but he wanted to correct us on one thing. He said the College Football Playoff Committee does not use any of the ESPN metrics because they don't have transparent formulas. Our protocol prohibits that. You guys say that we use strength of record. You could be confused because we did construct a resume metric in the offseason that we are calling record strength that is similar, but completely different formula and mathematical framework than the strength of record that you would find on ESPN.
That is a very good correction, and I will take that into account.
Although I think it's the same thing, kind of.
Well, it may not be the same thing. So but now, are they making theirs available? I'll have to check with CFP people, because if they're beef with the ESPN one is they're not publicly available, which I think is actually a really good argument against it. I'd like to see the formula they're using. I think that would be very insightful.
Yeah, I think that we use the ESPN one because that's the one that's available to us. And I don't know how similar the results are, but it's
that's the thing. If they're not similar at all, it doesn't really matter. And we are not helping the discourse by saying that. So I'm going to call those guys and see if we can get a copy of their methodology. I don't know if we'd be able to do it.
I already responded to this person.
Yeah, we're a Bad at Math podcast, so I'm sure I couldn't do this myself. So hopefully someone else can. But I'm with you on that. I would like to see exactly what they're using so that we can compare apples to apples, because I think that would be very, very instructive for the audience as well.
I mean, and it also kind of just brings up the one gripe that I have with the college football playoff in general, is that there's zero transparency whatsoever. And if you go read, and this isn't a Mac Rhodes insult, this is just the reality of it. If you go read any transcript of any post-reveal interview that you do with the committee chair, there's no information there at all.
No, and the person's in an impossible position because they're speaking for 13 people who all have different opinions.
Yeah. I think, and I don't know if this is ever possible, I think they should televise the deliberations.
Oh, I'd watch. I don't want to watch the made-for-TV show. We have to, because we have to tell you what the rankings are. But if I were an actual viewer who was trying to decide whether to devote my spare time to this, that I'd watch every second of it. They'll never do it, but I'd watch it.
Yeah, because
we want you to watch tomorrow's show. Dear Andy, dear Ari, send us your questions. We will do our best to answer them. John Ewing from BetMGM will also join us. Every time he's come on, he's thrown out some really interesting insights. And maybe he will help Ari and I as we decide on our mulligans, because Thursday is also mulligan day. So we'll decide who gets the mulligan. Who's taking more points? Who's flipping sides? Maybe Ari's flipping sides on a game. We'll find out. Talk to you tomorrow.